All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to, this is week 8. We're almost done with the quarter, March 5th. So it's 2 weeks from today is when the quarter is done. Okay, meaning the last day to turn in any open work. So kind of keep track of that. If you are wanting to bring your grade up in this class, then making sure that you're checking those assignments that are past due. So as I mentioned last week, I do what's called a lesson and recording page. So this is a great place where you can not only go and see what we're doing each day, but then also what's due and what's past due. So as we kind of get going, what's past due and when things will be closing. All right. So it lists what's due for the week, when things are closing, to make sure that you're staying on track. And then also replays of any classes that we do or resources or things like that that you can watch, or you can fast forward it to whatever section you need to help if you need that. So for this week, same thing posted. So as I finish the videos, I'll post them there. So you can see, like for this Friday, it shows you the 2 things that are due this week, and then it shows the 2 past due things. All right. So great reference for if you miss class, or if you need the videos, or if you need that running list of what's due and when is it closing. Okay. So that's a good information sheet. All right. So for this week, we are going to be doing 2 things. We're going to focus on kind of another TED Talk. We're going to do these for a few weeks. We might not do them every week, but we'll do them for the first couple weeks. And this one is talking about how do we get people to listen to us? What are some do's and don'ts to get people to listen to us? I don't know about you. If you're a talker, that's all right. So the link is just taking you to the Google Meet. You still have to put in the code. Yeah, you still have to put in the code. Yeah, so it'll take you to Google Meet, but then you still got to type in the code and stuff. So what we're going to do is watch this TED Talk. We'll go over the video sheet, and then we'll spend some time going over it, making sure that we're good and that everybody gets the answers, and just kind of discussing what we think of some of the things we shouldn't do and some of the things we want to make sure that we do. Because it's easy to talk, or most of us here, right? You're in speech and debate. You probably like talking, or you're not afraid to talk. If not, that's okay. But for a lot of us, maybe talking's not the problem. Maybe it's how do we make our words mean more so that people will listen. So sometimes it could be the pace with which we talk, maybe the tone with which we talk, eliminating some words. I find that I talk too fast. So that's one of the things that I have to work on is speaking. You can see, right? I speaking slower. Also, when I first started teaching, I used to say a lot. And I found that when I heard myself back, I was like, oh, that's annoying. So really trying to be aware of the pace with which I speak, and then some of the repetitive things I can say. Elon must, I guess, right? Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I just said, So my goal is that we all kind of create some of that awareness, not only just for speech and debate, but in our own lives of when we're trying to tell someone something that's important to us. And let me tell you, when you get in, if you're in a relationship, if you have a partner, when you get married someday, or, have a spouse someday, communication is so important. So even if this isn't for the speech and debate stage, these are still skills that all of us can use in the workplace, with people in our lives. Yes. And especially in our intimate relationships. The more intimate the relationship, the harder the communication is, because you have more emotion, right? I'm not going to show you all when I'm really mad, but boy, let me tell you, my husband's going to feel it. But if I actually want him to hear me, not just that I'm mad, how I say things is almost as important as what I am saying, right? So again, it can be applied to all parts of our lives. All right, so let's jump in and let's do it. So you're going to need to open this up. Go ahead and open up the video sheet. Make a copy. Okay, so get that open. As always, we're going to save it to our Google Drive. So if you don't already have a speech and debate folder, I would make one. So that way you can go back. It's quick reference to find assignments. If you just have everything in one open thing, it can be really hard to go back and find that one assignment for that one class. Where if you at least have them divided by class, it's like anything, being organized is going to help you out. So be organized. And then make it shareable. So going down here, anyone with the link, so that when you submit it, I can actually grade it. Okay, so go ahead and get that open. Give me a thumbs up because you're going to have that open to work on it while we do the video. The one thing I'm going to do different this week is as we go through the video, I'll pause it as we go through to give you a chance to like respond to each section, okay? Because it will kind of, there's more to respond to than last week. And so we'll want to pause between each section. So I will do that. Okay, so give me a thumbs up. You got your, you have your document open, ready to go. So you go into Canvas, go to modules, and we are on the week 8. And we're right here on the Tuesday assignment, TED Talk, 7 Deadly Sins. And you're going to open up that worksheet. So it looks like right here. So open that up. I'll give you about 1 more minute, and then we're going to start the video. No, no, this is the speech deadly sins. These aren't referring to, yeah, sorry, not referring to that, yeah. It's just, one of the things that he goes over in the TED Talks is the 7 deadly sins of giving a speech, being convincing. No, it's not a religion one, though I'm sure many religions, right, have the sins, right? The forbidden sins, you know, that you shouldn't commit. No, but these are the sins of speech. If you're going to try, if we are in the religion of speech and debate, these are the things you do not commit, because then you will fail in your speech, you know, whatever speech you're giving. So do not do these. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to click on the link.
Question. Would you build a website for
major brands? These advertisements,
200 million.
And then I'll pause it after each section, okay? So the first thing he's going to jump into is talking about the 7 deadly sins. So here we go. Of speech.
The human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world, probably. It's the only one that can start a war or say, I love you. And yet many people have the experience that when they speak, people don't listen to them. Why is that? How can we speak powerfully to make change in the world? What I'd like to suggest, there are a number of habits that we need to move away from. I've assembled for your pleasure here 7 deadly sins of speaking. I'm not pretending this is an exhaustive list, but these 7, I think, are pretty large. Habits that we can all fall into. First, gossip. Speaking ill of somebody who's not present. Not a nice habit, and we know perfectly well the person gossiping 5 minutes later will be gossiping about us. Second, judging. We know people who are like this in conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged and found wanting at the same time. Third, negativity. You can fall into this. My mother, in the last years of her life, became very, very negative, and it's hard to listen. I remember one day I said to her, it's October the 1st today, and she said, I know, isn't it dreadful? It's hard to listen when somebody's that negative. And another form of negativity, complaining. Well, this is the national art of the UK. It's our national sport. We complain about the weather, about sport, about politics, about everything. But actually, complaining is viral misery. It's not spreading sunshine and lightness in the world. Excuses. We've all met this guy. Maybe we've all been this guy. Some people have a blame thrower. They just pass it on to everybody else and don't take responsibility for their actions. And again, hard to listen to somebody who's being like that. Penultimate, the 6th of the 7, embroidery, exaggeration. It demeans our language, actually, sometimes. For example, if I see something that really is awesome, what do I call it? And then, of course, this exaggeration becomes lying, out and out lying, and we don't want to listen to people we know are lying to us. And finally, dogmatism. The confusion of facts with opinions. When those two things get conflated, you're listening into the wind. You know, somebody is bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true. It's difficult to listen to that. So here they are, 7 deadly sins of speaking. These are things I think we need to avoid. But is there a positive way to think about this?
Okay, ignore my number 6. Number 6 is lying. And then number 7 is dogmatism. All right, so I'll give you a minute. Get those in the first part of the worksheet, 1 through 7. CL, go ahead.
Never mind. I was going to ask you to go back to the other so I can take a screenshot. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, Malia.
What is dogmatism?
Dogmatism is like overtaking, like you're so dominant, you don't let the other person get in a word in edgewise, domineering.
Oh, okay. Oh my God.
There's some, maybe check your, no, it's okay, but maybe just like check the plugin or something like that. No biggie. Okay, so once you have that list, if you look at the next question, I'll give you a minute, and then I would love you to throw it in the chat or you can unmute and hear what you think. If you had to pick one of these 7, all of these, we could see pretty easily how it would deter somebody from listening to us. But what do you think is the worst sin or the most important barrier that might keep someone from listening to you? So which of these, if you had to choose one, would be the most important to avoid? Excuses, Koo, I like that. Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than talking to somebody that has an excuse for everything that happens, right? They take no personal accountability. Because every time you propose a solution, excuses, no action, right? Lying is a big one. I think the tendency is to jump toward lying. And so I would agree, like if someone's lying, it's hard to have a conversation. But I would have to say for me personally, besides honesty, excuses is probably my big one when people make excuses. Complaining, okay. Tielo, yeah, complaining, that can be really deterring, right? The person's always negative. It's raining outside. Oh, isn't that terrible? Okay, I was doing that a little bit at the beginning of class, but like we do need the rain, right? So we were trying to find the positive, But yes, in everything, right? The person who complains about everything. The person who complains. Go ahead.
Judging is one of the worst ones.
That's, and like they said, there's an argument for all of these, right? Judging can be really hard. When someone is judging, they're not going to listen. Yeah, you're being negative.
Yeah.
So dogmatism is the idea of domineering. Like, so if you're trying to, let's say you're talking back and forth with someone and they just cut you off all the time. Or, oh, wait just a minute. And you're just like, I can't even get my words out. Right? We've all met that person. You're trying to swear. All right, say, stop dogmatizing me. Though that might end badly. Don't, maybe be cautious. If your dad can take a joke. If your dad can take a joke, not all dads can take a joke, right? So as long as dad can take a joke. Maybe not when he's mad, maybe when he's just worked up, Just run. You're dogmatizing me, run. Yeah, duck. Literally, right? Yeah, literally. You get it. All right, report back. No, okay, well, don't do it if it's gonna make him mad. Don't do it if it's gonna make him mad. Don't do it if it's, but like if it's just like dinner conversation or something, just be like, you're dogmatizing the conversation. Like, what? You're like, stop overruling me. That's great. Okay. We are going to keep going because we want to get through the rest of the video and stuff like that. But this is great. You all are awesome for sharing. Okay, great. All right, let's keep going.
Yes, there is. I'd like to suggest that there are 4 really powerful cornerstones, foundations, that we can stand on
This is
if
in
we want
the
our speech to be
worksheet.
powerful and to make change in the world. Fortunately, these things spell a word. The word is hail, and it has a great definition as well. I'm not talking about the stuff that falls from the sky and hits you on the head. I'm talking about this definition, to greet or acclaim enthusiastically, which is, I think, how our words will be received if we stand on these 4 things. So what do they stand for? See if you can guess. The H, honesty, of course. Being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity, just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing in your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity, being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. And the L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I do mean wishing people well. For 2 reasons. First of all, I think absolute honesty may not be what we want. I mean, my goodness, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps that's not necessary. Tempered with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But also, if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time.
Okay, so let's take a minute for this part. Okay, this is the next part of the question sheet. So the 4 parts, I put them there in the chat, and then what word does it spell? So I'll put this back up for a minute. So a lot of these are counteracting, right? The 7 deadly sins. So as you feel that, so honesty, being clear, being straight, being honest. Don't make things up. Don't make up statistics. Don't make up circumstances. Be honest about what you're seeing or why you feel the way you feel. Authentic. I think especially when it comes to like social views or religious views or things like that, I find it actually pretty easy to accept an opinion that doesn't agree with me when I can understand where someone's coming from, their authentic self, because of this experience or this belief or this religious belief. Even if I don't personally align with it, I can appreciate that it's their life experience, it's because of their background or something that's happened to them or something that's really important to them that maybe I differ from. Maybe I was raised differently. I didn't experience a circumstance they did, or I'm a part of a different religion, so my moral compass looks a little different. And I think when we're authentic, meaning those things that make us who we are, it makes people maybe more receptive to not feel so threatened by an opinion or a view we have. Integrity, do as you say. So I think honesty is being truthful, but integrity is following through on what you say, right? I like that. It's different than honesty. Honesty is being truthful. What I am saying is true or factual as much as possible. Integrity, though, following through on what I believe. So if I believe something is wrong, I'm stating it, here's why. But the integrity of actually walking that path, upholding that moral or that standard. And then I like this love. It obviously romantic love is a part of people's lives, but in speech, usually that's not a part of it. It's just wishing people well. So I don't agree with you, or I don't align with, maybe we're different religions or political spectrums or see a social issue differently. But that doesn't mean I have to judge you. I can wish you well. I can disagree with you. And this is what I think is so lacking in our culture today. Yes? Can we all agree on that? Usually if we disagree with someone, it's hate, right? People are so mean about it. And learning to disagree with someone, but that doesn't mean they're a threat to me. Just because you're a different religion than me, just because you're a different political party than me, just because you see a social issue that's really controversial differently than me, doesn't mean you're not a valuable human being. You are. But we often forget that. The moment someone doesn't agree with us, there goes their value, right? We're like, kick them to the curb. And that's so inhumane, But let's be honest, it is hard. So as much as I agree with showing love, can we be honest, it is hard sometimes when there's that person who just totally disagrees with you. It is hard. That's a practice. So that's where having integrity is important, right? I can say we should show people love, but let's be honest, it can be really hard to show people love. So I say that not in judgment. I say that in camaraderie of that's so important, but let's be honest, it's a very hard thing to do. So hence where our integrity is so important. Because oftentimes maybe people aren't treating us with integrity. They're not treating us with love. So we want to return that same vile venom they're giving to us. And it's the harder, the high road, right, to not retreat with venom. Any comments? Yes, match. I always say match or below, because some people come in hot. So yeah, so sometimes you gotta like come in lower, like they come in hot and they're just spitting off, and you gotta be like, okay, let's take a minute. Let's take a breath. I hear you're really upset. My goal is not for us to be upset. Yes, exactly. You go lower. So I've had to try to do that sometimes. And you'll learn that in your intimate relationships, the hardest spot to do it, it can be debating, but it also is when let's say you're in an argument with a friend or a partner or something like that. When my spouse and I, when he does something and he comes in hot, it's so hard to not match the yell, right? Or not match the tone. It's hard to come back and say, okay, I hear you're upset. Let's calm it down. So the more combative, the harder it is, for sure. So this is a great skill in any part of our life. All right, are we good? Can I move on? Did we get this down? Thumbs up, we got it down? All right, let's move on to the next section. Okay, so the next section is going to be tools. So this is not only then this part, the cornerstones are about kind of how we conduct ourselves, right? What we're saying and things like that, our actions. This part is the importance of our tone, okay? And what a big impact our tone can have. Sometimes it's not what I say, it's how I say it, right? And they actually say it's more important how you say something than what you're saying. Equally, if not more important.
Time. I'm not even sure you can do those two things simultaneously. So hail. Also, now that's what you say, and it's like the old song, it is what you say, it's also the way that you say it. You have an amazing toolbox. This instrument is incredible, and yet this is a toolbox that very few people have ever opened. I'd like to have a little rummage in there with you now, and just pull a few tools out that you might like to take away and play with, which will increase the power of your speaking. Register, for example. Now, falsetto register may not be very useful most of the time, but there's a register in between. I'm not going to get very technical about this for any of you who are voice coaches. You can locate your voice, however. So if I talk up here in my nose, you can hear the difference. If I go down here in my throat, which is where most of us speak from most of the time. But if you want weight, you need to go down here to the chest. You hear the difference? We vote for politicians with lower voices. It's true. Because we associate depth with power and with
I'd never
authority.
get elected because I have a high voice.
That's register. And we have timbre. It's the way your voice feels. Again, the research shows that we prefer voices which are rich, smooth, warm, like hot chocolate. Well, if that's not you, that's not the end of the world, because you can train. Go get a voice coach.
I hate the sound of my voice. I sound boring when I talk. I'm a terrible story.
And there are amazing things you can do with breathing, with posture, and with exercises to improve the timbre of your voice. Then prosody. I love prosody. This is the sing-song, the meta-language that we use in order to impart meaning. It's route one for meaning in conversation. People who speak all on one note are really quite hard to listen to if they don't have any prosody at all. That's where the word monotonic comes from, or monotonous, monotone. Also, we have repetitive prosody now coming in, where every sentence ends as if it were a question, when it's actually not a question, it's a statement. And if you repeat that one over and over, it's actually restricting your ability to communicate through prosody, which I think is a shame. So let's try and break that habit. Pace. I can get very, very excited by saying something really, really quickly, or I can slow right down to emphasize. And at the end of that, of course, is our old friend, silence. There's nothing wrong with a bit of silence in a talk, is there? We don't have to fill it with ums and ahs. It can be very powerful. Of course, pitch often goes along with pace to indicate arousal, but you can do it just with pitch. Where did you leave my keys? Where did you leave my keys? It's a slightly different meaning in those two deliveries. And finally, volume. I can get really excited by using volume, sorry about that if I startled anybody, or I can have you really pay attention by getting very quiet. Some people broadcast the whole time, try not to do that. That's called sodcasting. Imposing your sound on people around you carelessly and inconsiderately, not nice. Of course, where this all comes into play, most of all, is when you've got something really important to do. It might be standing on a stage like this and giving a talk to people. It might be proposing marriage, asking for a raise, a wedding speech, whatever it is. If it's really important, you owe it to yourself to look at this toolbox and the engine that it's going to work on. And no engine works well without being warmed up.
Okay, really quick, let me get back to the toolbox scene. All right, let's make sure you have this down. So register is really important. Timbre, so we said, what did we say timbre was? Oh, did I forget to put? Okay, so like, does it feel rich, smooth? So how smoothly you're speaking, and stuff. So some of these are that don't fly off the tongue the best. Okay, prosody. So the change of tone. So trying not to be flat. Trying to go up and go down. Showing some variation in your voice. When someone is very monotone, it is very, very boring. Nobody wants to listen to that, right? So having that inflection in your voice. Pace. This is something I definitely have to work with. Not going too fast. You lose people when we talk fast. Too slow, though, can also drag. It's like, can we get to the point, please? Right? Pitch to give intensity. So if you were coming into class and I was like, hey, CeeLo, or hey, Cielo, like that, versus like, hi, Cielo, how are you? Like, the same words, but the pitch with which I use it, right, can be very welcoming or kind of put off, like, why say hi at all? And then volume, how loud. You need to be loud enough so people hear you, but you also don't want to be domineering. You also don't want to come across those meekish, right? If you're trying to make a point, you don't want to come across too meek, as it might not seem that you mean it, or they might not take you as seriously. So having the right volume can be really important, especially when you're trying to make a point. All right, so I'll give you a minute to get this down, and then we're going to finish up. I think that's the last question, okay? This last part, he just kind of goes over some tools of how to warm up your voice, especially if you're going to give a speech. You want to be really ready. Okay, so while you do that, I'm going to play the rest of the video.
Ask the whole time, try not to do that. That's called sod.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Engine that it's going to work on, and no engine works well without being warmed up. Warm up your voice. Actually, let me show you how to do that. Would you all like to stand up for a moment?
All right, let's do it.
I'm going to show you the 6 vocal warm-up exercises that I do before every talk I ever do. Anytime you're going to talk to anybody important, do these. First, arms up, deep breath in, and sigh out, like that. One more time. Very good. Now we're going to warm up our lips, and we're going to go bop, 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 bop. Very good. And now, just like when you were a kid.
My dog is very disturbed.
Now your lips should be coming alive. We're going to do the tongue next with exaggerated la, 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 la. Beautiful. You're getting really good at this. And then roll an R. That's like champagne for the tongue. Finally, and if I can only do one, the pros call this the siren. It's really good. It starts with we and goes to or. The we is high, the or is low. So you go wee, or, wee. Fantastic. Give yourselves a round of applause. Take a seat. Thank you. Next time you speak, do those in advance. Now, let me just put this in context to close. This is a serious point here. This is where we are now, right? We speak not very well into people who simply aren't listening in an environment that's all about noise and bad acoustics. I have talked about that on this stage in different phases. What would the world be like if we were speaking powerfully to people who are listening consciously in environments which were actually fit for purpose? Or to make that a bit larger, what would the world be like if we were creating sound consciously and consuming sound consciously and designing all our environments consciously for sound? That would be a world that does sound beautiful, and one where understanding would be the norm. And that is an idea worth spreading. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I agree. His head is kind of shiny. I do agree. I do agree. Okay. So hopefully you got the 7 deadly sins or mistakes of speech. Okay. The hail, the things that we should try to achieve when giving a speech. And then the points that he made about our tone. Okay. To be as effective a communicator as possible. And stuff. We don't want to just speak for the sake of speaking. We want to feel heard, and we want people to not feel judged and to want to have a conversation with us. And part of that is being an open, welcoming person. If you are judgmental, if you are powerful and talk too fast, unapproachable, people aren't going to want to discuss with you. And so part of, if we want people to want to discuss with us, be someone worth discussing with. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of take the challenge of the video as. Be someone approachable, be someone that people are willing to disagree with, that people are willing to share their view and feel safe sharing their view, especially when it's different than yours, right? That's the ultimate sign of safety, that someone's willing to share a view that contradicts yours, but they feel safe sharing that with you. Okay. So please get these submitted. On tomorrow when we meet, we're going to talk about the EV debate. Is the pros of EV, does it outweigh the cons, and kind of look at both sides of the argument in the United States. And then you'll have some time to work on your worksheet. Okay. Thanks for all the participation today. I'm going to let you go a couple minutes early, get this submitted. All right. And have a great day. And report back, Malia, how the dogmatic comment goes. So we're all curious. So,
Oh yeah, I'll definitely give you an update.
all right. Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you, Cielo. Thank you, Ku. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.